Hi, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hobbyist Now, your one stop shop.
For all things nerdy and dirty.
That's right. That's right. I'm Claudian, as usual. And of course, this is Nick, the greatest.
Yep.
We ask that you just don't forget to like and subscribe and share if you like what you see and hear. Also, leave a comment. We really, really would love to hear from you guys.
We're also on Spotify. The link is in the bio.
All right. All right. So, we're going to go to some news, and then we got an exciting episode after that. So, let's begin with news. Big news, actually, of the time of this recording, the new Last of Us is premiering. So right now, it's premiering. So I'm a big fan of Pablo. What's his name?
Escobar?
No, Pedro. The guy who played the Mandalorian.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I'm a big fan of his. I don't know the girl. I think she's like a brand new actress, and so we didn't look this information up. Just that it's premiering tonight, so we're probably gonna go and watch it afterwards, see what we think about it. So yeah, you got any thoughts on it before we go to the next subject?
Yeah, for the most part, from what they've said, they plan on staying pretty faithful. So that's good. And then the visuals look very spot on. So I'm pretty excited for that. I mean, I enjoyed the first game. The second game was garbage, but
Yeah,
the first game was really good. I mean, I've replayed it quite a few times.
yeah. I remember playing that. I remember playing that. Oh my god, I vividly remember the first time just doing that first mission.
Dude, that game was
Just the
scary.
beginning.
I wasn't used to zombies.
Yeah.
Being able to OTK you, like one turn kill,
Yeah.
like one hit you.
Oh yeah, no, I think that was like kind of new.
It
And
was because
then,
they would just grab you and
yeah,
you're dead.
and then on top of that, the people sucked.
Yeah, oh god.
I hated fighting people. At least I rather fight people than the clickers, or I think that's what they were
Yeah,
called.
clickers.
But God, remember when you went to the high school? Was it a middle school or high school? In
One
the
of those.
auditorium, and the monster thing came out.
Oh yeah,
And
the
you were
first
just
armored one.
Yeah, and you were just like, oh,
Well, this sucks.
this sucks. Yeah. Oh yeah. Um, we'll wait and see. We'll see. I don't know how they're gonna plan the show out. I don't know the extent of it or anything. I didn't really look into it, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, same here.
The HBO does pretty good, I think, personally, for shows. That is. So we're gonna now move on to some big news for Avatar. Avatar: The Way of Water has won its fifth global box office spot as it crossed 1.89 billion globally, and it is now very close to becoming the sixth biggest global release in history, over Spider-Man: No Way Home, which was 1.91 billion. I just need $5, so if anybody wants to just lend me $5, I'd appreciate that. But
About 350.
yeah, I still haven't seen it. Planning on it, maybe. I don't know.
No, I'll wait till it comes out on streaming.
Finding 3 hours to sit and watch it. Now, theater by me specifically has high frame rate, and I understand it's a real experience to see it in high frame rate or 3D. So, because the
3D,
film part of the
3
film
hours.
was shot at high frame rate. For those who don't know, that's like that gives you that kind of they call it the soap opera effect. So, it may not be for everybody, but I might check it out. Maybe I might even see both in both versions, 3D and high frame rate. So, but moving on though, back to some anime actually. Vinland Saga. Have you watched or are you familiar with this?
I've technically seen it on like shorts and stuff. But
Yeah.
I haven't actually watched it.
Well, for those who are fans of it, well, no, the show kind of went on a minor hiatus as far as the anime did. But guess what? Vinland Saga is actually back after what feels like forever, and it is like it never left. Despite a dreaded studio change, the new season feels just like the Vinland Saga you're used to, with a strong premiere that poses this as the show to beat this season. Now that the prologue is over, the true story of Vinland Saga is finally about to start, and it does so by completely changing the settings and characters. In some ways, the season 2 premiere feels a lot like the season 4 premiere of Attack on Titan, to give some sort of retrospective there. For one, the episode also marks the first of Studio Mappa taking over producing duties from Wet Studio, and it felt vastly different from the rest of the show up to that point. Both series are following tumultuous and bloody cliffhangers with premieres that include an entirely new cast of characters in a different setting with a slow down pace and tone that takes a while before we get a hint of anyone from the main cast returning. And that came straight from IGN, so for their review of that. So yeah, it came out. I actually just started watching the first season, so found it where it's dubbed. So, and yeah, but we're gonna move on to Nick's favorite segment, and I know yours, the models and figures. What do we got for us today?
That's right. So all these will be releasing in February of this year. We're going to start off with Mega House Precious Gem series Code Geass CC Britannia outfit PVC figure. She'll run you about $192.67. This is somewhat of a callback to the earlier Lelouch figure from the last episode. Then we have the Katsukobuka Evangelion Shin Genkyu Joba Eva 1 with Cassius no Yari 1/400 plastic kit. That's a second production run. So if you were looking or waiting for that, they finally are re-releasing it, and it will run you about $52.41. Then we have the Good Smile Company Spy Family Pop-Up Parade Anya Forger PVC figure. And she's just a adorable little statue. She'll run you about $27.32. And then we have the Kaidia Revolutech Zurg from Toy Story. He'll run you about $82.20 or $83.23. And he posable, hands move. He's got his little gun thing. He's really cool. Moving on from that to some anime news. Fooly Cooly Grunge is an upcoming Fooly Cooly anime titled Fooly Cooly Grunge, which was announced by Adult Swim. They actually revealed not one but two new Fooly Cooly seasons. This one is, as you know, and then there's Fooly Cooly Showgaze. It's actually being animated by Mont Blanc Pictures, and directing the upcoming season is actually Hitoshi Tekio. And then they don't actually have a real release date for it. It's just the year. So this year. So that's at least exciting for
Probably
that.
Fall.
Probably fall.
Yeah.
And then we move on to probably one of my absolute favorite animes, Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Season 2.
Love that.
Oh, God, it's so good.
It's a great show. Love
Season 2 of Mushoku Tensei is actually confirmed, and Studio Bind, who animated the first season, is returning for the second one. So this doesn't, again, have a actual release date. It's just a release of this year. I'm hoping for fall because I need something, or even spring or summer. I don't care. I just really want to watch this. I love this show. And then this is another really good show. Bofuri Season 2 actually has an actual release date. So Season 2 will actually continue to follow Maple, having accidentally become one of the best players in the world by being the only player to max out their defense as she explores the game and expands her own potential even further with her newfound allies. Fans can catch up on this on January 11th, on Crunchyroll, Hulu, and Funimation, which Crunchyroll and Funimation at this point are the same.
Yeah, I have no idea. I thought they were closing down Funimation, but you go there and it's still there.
And they still are getting updates and stuff. It's really weird.
It's weird. I don't know, man.
And then moving on to some video game news. Hogwarts Legacy, which will be released on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and the other various systems. I don't think Switch is getting this. But April 4th, Hogwarts Legacy is an immersive open-world action RPG set in the world first introduced in the Harry Potter books. For the first time, experience Hogwarts in the 1800s. Your character is a student who held the key to an ancient secret that threatens to tear the wizarding world apart. Now you can take control of the action and be at the center of your own adventure in the wizarding world. So it looks pretty good graphically, and as far as story, I haven't seen a whole lot or even know what's going on. This was actually taken directly from their website. So, I mean, I'll post a link or something so you can see it.
And I don't know if you have, but I've never played these
No, no. Well,
games.
this isn't that type of game. This isn't like a main storyline game. This
Yeah.
is its own thing supposedly, and
I just think
so
it's weird, like 1800s, but isn't like the movies, if you really think about it real hard, it's almost like Victorian
yeah,
era, because like everything's old and stuff. So how much has really changed? They kept that aesthetic, but yeah.
yeah. So and then I'm mildly excited for this, a little apprehensive, but Dead Island 2, which will be releasing for PlayStation 4, 5, Windows, Xbox One, X, and the Series S. April 28th. It finally has like a solid release date. Which they've had this a couple times, so we'll see where this goes. But Dead Island 2 is an upcoming action role-playing game developed by Dam Buster Studios and published by Deep Silver. It is the sequel to the 2011 video game Dead Island. It's the third major installment in the Dead Island series, and I know it says it's Dead Island 2, but they had like Riptide, and I believe there's like either one or two other Dead Island games, and that's why it says it's the third.
I was about to say, I thought there was more than just two.
Yeah, there definitely is.
Okay.
But this is, I think, like mainline story.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm tired of zombies.
I love zombies. I'll never get tired.
I do too. I just burned out. Just
Yeah, there has been a lot, but this game was very fresh with the weapon creation. It was good back in the day. They just messed up, or Deep Silver did, because it was plagued by technical issues and all sorts of other problems. Then moving on, so media company X Noah announced the OVA format, main cast, some more of the staff, and the key visual on Friday for its new Tenchi Muyo GXP anime titled Tenchi Muyo GXP Paradise Shioden, Paradise Begins arc. The official YouTube channel for the OVA streamed an announcement video on December 23rd.
so. Do you live in Australia? Do you want for Christmas next year? How not to summon a demon lord, Omega, which was the film that came out for Christmas next year. Well, guess what? You can't get it because your country just banned it. So yeah, Australia bans import sales of How Not to Summon a Demon Lord Omega anime. Board refused classification of the show's second season. The Australian Classification Board began listing on January 4th that the How Not to Summon a Demon Lord Omega anime is refused classification and thus effectively banned from being released on home video in Australia. The anime is still available, though, for streaming. The board did not list a reason for refusal of the classifications. Nick had a really interesting theory to why this was. We may share that later. But anyways, according to the Australian Classification Board's website, titles classified as refused cannot be either sold, hired, advertised, or legally imported in Australia. The RC classified materials contains content that is very high in impact and falls outside generally accepted community standards. The board had restricted the anime's first season, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, as an MA-15 plus for strong sexual themes in October of 2019. The series is allegedly legally restricted to people that aren't over the age of 15, but is otherwise available for sale. Now, going back to the movie, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord Omega, which premiered in April of 2021, the anime featured scenes of light nudity and was available in both censored and uncensored versions. The board had similarly refused classifications of the first, second, and ninth volumes of Kamiya's No Game, No Life light novel series in August of 2020. The Australian Public Party Centre Alliance applied these novel volumes classifications. Also, one bit of news. Don't have much information on it, so wasn't sure if we were going to talk about it. For those who like myself watched Made in the Abyss, there will be a sequel to season 2 of it. So that just came out, but there wasn't a lot yet. But they have confirmed a new season will be coming out because I can't wait.
Well, shit, I haven't even finished season 1.
Yeah, if you ever watch that show, just watch season 1, then go to the third movie. Just ignore the first 2 because they're just recaps of the first season.
Oh.
And then go to the second season, and that's how you watch it. So.
Well, that's weird, but okay.
Yeah, And when you read it, when you read the description of the first movie, you're like, why does that sound like the beginning of the show? And it is. And then the second season's the second half. They just made it into a theatrical cut version. Who knows why? But there will be an official third season. So So we're gonna move on to our now main topic, and it's a special one because we are actually gonna do something that we normally don't do, and that is we're actually not gonna be scripted so much or anything like that. We're simply gonna be talking about our love for anime. And sort of a Q&A kind of questionnaire sort of thing. So we're going to do that next, and that'll be the rest of the show. So stick with us for that. All right. So we're getting really exciting episode, like main meat and potato segment. And we're actually going to do something we normally don't do. We're going to actually talk about our love for anime. Now, for a lot of people here, it may be from all sorts of reasons to why you got into it, why you love it. It could have been from, you first time you saw Akira, to, being a lot like us, to Nami, to all sorts of stuff, to like now how frequent it is now in the lexicon of our culture. And so we're gonna go and we're gonna do kind of this Q&A thing with ourselves, with Nick and myself. So hope you find this really interesting and kind of learn a little bit about us.
Yeah.
So we figured you guys don't know much about us, so and we brought this stuff. This is our stuff, so we're really into this stuff. Like I got such obscure stuff here, like just because I'm an avid thing.
I like more of the mainstream stuff, as you can tell.
Yeah. So we're gonna start off with you, Nick, with I'm gonna actually do this because normally I don't have. Normally
we're
looking
we don't
straight at the camera, but
normally we don't
today we're gonna
talk
be
to each other or address each other anyway.
So sorry if my profile looks weird on this side, but so Nick, where did it all start for you?
So mine actually started back when Toonami, honestly. I remember just accidentally catching an episode of Dragon Ball. Actually, I believe it was the Ocean dub because it still had the Rock the Dragon theme song. And just honestly, ever since then, I've just been kind of hooked. And I mean, I love Dragon Ball. If you see my room, I have like figures, models, wall scrolls, blankets, slippers, wallets, everything. I love Dragon Ball. But yeah, so that's pretty much where it started for me. And then Claudian, what about you? You want to give us...
Well, for me, it started like I guess everybody in the '90s, with definitely Toonami being a real big part of that, like going to like Gundam Wing and so forth. I actually really was into Gundam Wing, and I know Nick is sort of. You have issues with it now. I've had just recently watched it. But I like that show. Dragon Ball to me was really weird because it was just always this, it became the meme of, nothing happened and then the next episode is going to promise that conclusion. And it just became the meme.
The problem is they didn't follow the damn manga. They had a lot of filler, and that's why they have Dragon Ball Kai, which is supposed to cut out the filler.
Got you.
And,
okay.
And like honestly, it worked for me. Obviously, I mean it's the only reason I even watch anime today.
Oh, and I watched the show. I actually sat down and watched Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, Dragon Ball's so good.
But once I was older, and I could just sit and watch it. But when I was at that age, just the repetitiveness, just to me wasn't really my thing. So. I looked at things like Gundam Wing and so forth, which always seemed like it had a real...
He was an old man before he was an old man. I was
a very old man. And
NPR News, but with anime.
The weird thing for me is I want to say had a real love for anime at that point. Really, like, really was an anime called Ira, the Bounty Hunter, or Ira the I'm looking it up. Ira, uh, Zaram, the Bounty Hunter, which was really one of the ones that when I watched it, it's an OVA practically. It is an OVA, and um, it's simply was the one that I don't know. To me, it was the one that really clicked, and I actually watched it on not Toonami, but Sci-Fi Channel also had a anime thing with like Saturdays, anime Saturdays or something like
Forgot
that.
about that.
And they would show like the hard stuff, like this one. I remember I saw Angel Cop as well on there as well.
Yeah, because they used to show stuff like Savage Dragon on there and stuff
Yeah,
too.
and they would show movies too, like that's when I first saw like AOK and those movies and DNA and all those series because they did a way more mature direction, and they were actually showing more the more OVAs versus series.
The hard stuff.
Seriously, it was.
Oh yeah,
It
no,
really
most of that
was.
stuff's
Ninja Scroll.
yeah. If you've ever seen Ninja Scroll, you'll know.
So I really think that was the anime that, even though I always liked anime and stuff, like like I remember like seeing like Castle in the Sky and just being like, yes. By the way, if you're all wondering, we just got piles of movies
Just random
we're
things
just
and
pulling up here.
stuff.
But I definitely would say that was the one really that clicked with me. And then there was another. There was really an anime that I don't know what it was. I can't remember, but there was a scene in it where I've always remembered this vividly. But because I'm a film guy, video guy, it looks just by it's not double looking, but just looking at it for a moment, it looked like real life. I was like just the lighting and stuff. Like it literally took a second to. It was a scene that was silhouette was lit, and it was like a scene in an office room. Again, I don't remember the movies per se, but just the way that lighting technique that they did back and it was in early '90s, maybe even late '80s film. It was a film, I believe, and just the workmanship was just astronomical. Of course, legendary Ghost in the Shell is another one.
I was never actually really a fan of that one.
Ghost in the Shell. No,
Yeah,
I wasn't a fan.
It was more. It was too copy and like serious, and I liked more of the shonen beat 'em up type deal.
Yeah, I liked the original movie. And that was as far as I ever got. I know there's a whole series with. I know there's like a whole.
I played the video game on the PSP.
Yeah, at that time there was a game like it was a weird time because for us, I would argue that really with our gaming because I was a gamer back in the day, but like I was really into like Zone of Enders. Some of the subjects we've talked about when we were in previous episodes, like Xenogears and stuff like that. That kind of Final Fantasy.
That wasn't me. I was playing Budokai, Ultimate Battle 22,
Yeah.
the Naruto, every single one of the PS2 Naruto games.
Yeah, I don't think I had. I think I only
Ninja
had
Council for the
PlayStation
DS.
forever until I actually went and got 360. I think was the first console outside of like PlayStation, and so I think that had a lot of big influence on me.
Yeah, no, mine was just Dragon Ball. I caught it on accident on Toonami on my old crappy CRTV, and
Yeah.
just literally just history since then.
Toonami also brought like to me, of course, Trigun, which is just like it's just a
Yeah, it's in front of these.
well, we have it. It's up there. But Trigun, and it's why I'm very disappointed with the new animation style they went with. And
Yeah, because how do you go from such a beautiful hand drawn like?
Yeah.
And I'm not even a fan of Trigun
yeah,
like that. Like I think Vash is a cool character.
Yeah.
Ideal, and but as far as the route that they went with the animation, it's very like cartoony, almost like. I don't want to put it this way, but like it just seems very Coco Melony to me. It's very like weird art style choice
Yeah.
for something that went from that.
and the motion was not great. Like
No,
the character, the way they move is terrible.
they move almost like South Park characters,
They
in
move
my opinion.
such low frame rates, bizarre.
I did try to watch it. I can't.
Oh, you did?
I tried. Yeah. I tried.
And then
Fair shot.
And of course Cowboy Bebop, like just legendary. And then
see, it's crazy.
Outlaw Star.
Our like starts are so vastly different. Like the animes you started off with versus the ones that like I started off with and liked.
Well, I wanted to be like Gene from Outlaw Star. You know,
see,
the
one
really
I loved.
The really cool guy. You know, he did the flick. You know, and then I
wanted that gun so bad that
yeah,
that
the spirit
caster.
Guns, the casters, yeah.
Yeah.
And just that was kind of like what I always looked for in an anime was like characters that were like were like wow, like
they're
so
human.
cool.
I could be them.
Yeah, I want to be them. Yeah, and I think
Gene Starwin would have been cool to be.
Yeah, hell yeah, Gene Starwin, even Spike. I mean, like that's the kind of characters I was always attracted to. It's I think why I like Gundam Wing. I always thought like Hero and the crew were kind of well.
Yeah, it would have been cool to be able to do something.
Like you were like this kid, us doing espionage, you know, with like big global atmosphere, and then Dragon Ball Z, like to me was just never was my thing. It was just crazy. Like it not at that time. To go to the question of this, just it became more later.
Yeah,
to me.
And I mean. So as far as like the way my preferred method of even like touching these is generally I like subs.
Okay.
I would rather read the subs than the dubs. A lot of the dubs, especially like from this era.
Yeah.
The Rock the Dragon one, which this one's fixed. This one is actually from Funimation. They fixed it. It's not the old Ocean dub where you know, the rest in peace to the voice of that Goku. But it was completely different. A lot of the stuff they said and like the way Goku talked, he's not, you know, Sean Schemmel, and I believe Christopher Sabat was still a part of it, but it was still just weird to me. But subs Nozawa is amazing, and that's the voice of Goku in Japanese.
What so were you aware of a manga before, or did you not know there was manga?
I didn't know that I didn't even know that the books existed.
Okay.
Again, like I lived, not to give away too much, but I lived in Detroit.
Yeah.
And we were okay, like, but not in a way to get. However, the crazy part is when I lived there, and again, just started watching this. I lived across the street from this family that had just moved here from Mexico.
Okay.
And they had, mind you, we're on season 1. Season 1.
Yeah.
Like Frieza's, not even Frieza Saga, like Saiyan Saga. Like Raditz just showed up for the first time.
Yeah.
And they have Super Saiyan 3s. Super Saiyan 3 figures. I did not know that the show was already done.
Yeah.
For the most part. Like, it was already finished. And I'm just getting... I'm seeing these people, like, that I've never seen before. Janemba, Tapion, Goku, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 1, and I was so confused. So confused. I was like, who in the... is this? Yeah. But yeah, no. So definitely... like watching the subs and like the shows are my preferred way. I do like reading some of them just to see the differences, but my main preferred way is the subs. What about you, Claudian?
As far as like I would say my preferred method, it's always going to be animation. Actually, for the longest time, had a real hard time reading like comic books or mangas. Just
why you just get like
I just can't follow. Like I have a real hard time following the words. So like a lot of times I'll get tripped up. And I'll try to figure out like, okay, which flow.
I used to do that too. Or you'd like start reading here and you're like, wait, what is going on? This doesn't make sense.
So I would have to stop and kind of like look at the whole thing and be like, oh, okay, because this one makes sense. They were saying it this order. Really wasn't until like. I'm gonna mention them, but we're not like affiliated or anything. We have no affiliations with anything. But like till like Cosmology came out with it, which was like Amazon, with like their like anime and comic book reader viewer, which like will go tile by tile in order, so you don't really get
Oh
confused.
yeah, because the Gundam ones really messed me up. They were comic books. You'd open them,
Yeah,
and obviously you read them from right to left, how you would
yeah,
normally a manga. But you're supposed to, like, the way they were set up was the wrong way, because like it was meant to be opened like this,
yeah.
but it didn't read that way, because you would start reading from which I did this. I read from the back of
Hmm.
it forward, and I was like, this makes no sense.
Oh, okay.
And I was just a dumb kid though. I was like
Oh yeah.
11 or something reading this.
For those who are watching, who really just kind of came across the show and was wondering, like what we're talking about, in mangas, because of how Japanese lettering is, they actually like write from right to left, where we typically go the other way.
Yeah, left to right.
And in the mangas also, when and light novels or whatever, you actually start at the end and you work to the front. So that's why like it'll even a lot of times they give you a warning saying, "Yo, you got to
Start here.
Start here." Yeah.
Yeah, no. Back in the day, they didn't do that. I just got these Gundam Wing comic books and read them like an idiot.
Yeah. But even for regular American comics, I had a hard time because I'd be like, okay, I'm following the ebb and flow. I'm following the ebb and flow, and then there'd be like a thought bubble or something that goes in on the other panel, and I'd be like, okay, when's this supposed to be said? And it would just always trip me off. But like I said, with now digital and having the tile movement, it's definitely
the
been
tile movement's wrong too.
it definitely helps a lot, definitely. So I've been actually able to read more manga more recently versus like when I was a kid, but I definitely animate 100% in dubs. I hate to say it, I don't want to sound like the credence that's like, oh, but yeah, I like to watch it, like to have it on, but I also like to um, kind of be able to look away from it too once in a while, like, and which is weird because I have no problems actually. Regular like Japanese films, I watch plenty of them in Japanese with subtitles. Like, it's actually really anime. That's really the only one I have trouble with. It's really crazy. Like, I watch a ton of. I just watched like for movies. I just watched it's called, I think, The Cop, The Gangster, something else. It was really good. Totally in Japanese, or it might have been a Korean movie. No problem.
Whole lot of good Korean films coming out lately.
But going to like anime, I gotta watch it dubbed. Like, it's really.
Maybe it's because you don't have a choice between the two, and you have a choice. Because like usually, if people are given a choice, they usually go towards their mother tongue.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not gonna lie. Usually because it sounds weird and off-putting.
What, the dub?
Especially with, like, again, going back to Dragon Ball Super, I'm not a huge fan of the dub because like they change names, they change stuff. Like Topo in Super,
Mm-hmm.
they call him Top, just straight up. His name's Topo, but they call
Yeah.
him Top. And Ultra Instinct is Autonomous Ultra Instinct or some weird stuff. And I'm like, it doesn't fit. They
Yeah.
change words. Just follow the subs. Just follow the subs. You already have the script.
I think I also had. I think for me, like I was watching, like, so for example, we have Extophone, which is right here. This is actually the movie,
I don't think I've ever seen that.
and there's actually an anime with it as well. But there's actually a whole story about the movie and the anime. But anyways, so I was watching like that, or like going back to Castle in the Sky by Studio Ghibli. So I was watching films that were really like top tier dubbing.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
think I just kind of always gravitated to that. Like, and a lot of the OVAs were well, a lot of the ones I thought I was watching, the dubbing was decent enough. I mean, I'm going to actually back to this one right here, which when you saw manga on the cover here, anytime you saw that shit, you knew you were in for a ride, because this was like, just, you knew you were into violence, sex, everything. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there was
Like,
no holds on that
I
one.
just remember, and I don't know. I just always had I will always know this show as a dubbed show. To watch it with the original
Yeah,
audio
see,
would
I
be
guess
really
you know
weird.
though, if you think about it though, I think that has a huge part to play in it too. How did you see it first?
Yeah,
Because like this Dragon Ball again, I can watch in English or in Japanese, and I
yeah,
absolutely enjoy it. Dragon Ball Z, same thing. I enjoy it both ways. I got that time I got reincarnated as a slime. I
yeah,
love it in both because I feel like the voices fit very well. I think it's just the ones where it's like there's no similarity between the two.
yeah,
Uh, I don't care for.
yeah. When I watched Reincarnated Slime, which is a phenomenal show, recommend seeing it. If you haven't, I only watched the dub, so I can probably only ever watch in dub because
That's how
to
a lot
me
of
what the
people are.
character is going to be sounding like. And I've literally gone from a halfway dubbed, halfway original language, and it's so just off-putting. It's like,
Actually, that's
oh,
what I had to do when season I believe 2 came out. It was only released in Japanese, and I don't like waiting. I'm one of those people. I'll start a show and I'll binge watch it, and then I'm sad because I no longer I can't watch it anymore because there's nothing.
so what would you say then would be arguably your favorite style? I know we're not really. We understand that there is literally for almost every form of animation style that has been done. There's like an actual technical term, but
But
we
we're
don't.
gonna go based off shows.
We actually don't know what they're called
Yeah, so
though.
it'd make it
Like
easier just to go off the shows and
so,
stuff. But literally Yu Yu Hakusho's art style,
Yu Yu Hakusho,
or Dragon Ball, like that early like, well, what would it be like 90s
yeah,
art style is
yeah.
my absolute favorite.
Um,
And like,
I'm gonna see.
what is it?
I'm gonna see if there's a possibly a. Unfortunately, there is no.
Yeah, they don't really ever talk about the actual art styles that they use for
Unfortunately,
these.
no. I was gonna see if there was
But I'm sure if you looked
clip,
like,
but like Genroth is it would be a style that I really admire. It's that I guess super realism to it that
yeah,
I just like adore.
I just enjoy that hand drawn.
Actually,
Like,
so is Angel Cop again. Has a real like hard lines, just real detailed. Like you could tell there's like really no lack of like I guess no lack of the extraordinary. I guess in the style, if that makes sense. Like where like Dragon Ball, you're kind of open to like bubbly looking characters, funnier shapes, where these shows are grounded in such a hard reality
yeah,
that
they're mostly human and stuff.
that crazy shit happens in them. Like clearly, like Ninja Scroll is another example of that.
Yeah, but Ninja Scroll is kind of in that goofy parameters as well. I mean,
Yeah.
at least from what I remember. I remember accidentally buying that because at the time Naruto was out, and I bought the what was that? Not DMV, the little digital media discs for the PSP.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
Naruto, like I said, Naruto
The
at the time,
UMDs.
yeah, the UMD.
UMDs,
Naruto
yeah.
at the time was huge, so I bought that. I was like, oh, cool, ninjas.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, let me tell you, I was in for a surprise
Oh, yeah.
because it is not like Naruto,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah. Another style, another one, going way back. For like us would be like again Berserk,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just very just very specific and stuff. With even though crazy shit happens in it, still grounded in a cemented reality.
Well, then I guess with that being said, well, speaking of Berserk, so what would be, arguably your favorite anime or like animes?
Well, I honestly, I would have to say the one that got me into it, the one that really like got me on. So it wouldn't be an answer, I guess. You, Nick, would really 100% expect, but it would be the Iria Zerum Hunter. I gotta look it up because I actually had the thing. Yeah, Zyram the Bounty Hunter, because that was the first kind of where my initial love for it. Like again, going back to the beginning, like I definitely liked anime and I enjoyed watching it, but I really didn't have that like a real
You just
attachment
didn't
to it.
gravitate towards
And then
it.
when I watched that one, it was like something just went, and I'm like, you know what? Something about this I love. Like, it's definitely a gateway to another world, like another type of world I would love to be living in. And so yeah, so Ira, Zeram, the bounty hunter would probably be mine just because of that very unusual, very specific connection. What would you say yours is, Nick?
I have a lot,
Okay.
but like my absolute top one, I guess I
Of
can't
course,
even
Hunter
say.
x Hunter.
I can't even say it's. I just have one because like I love Hunter x Hunter. I
Yeah.
love that time I got reincarnated as a
Yeah.
slime. I love Dragon Ball. But I guess if I had to like, if they're like you have to choose Dragon
Yeah.
Ball and Dragon Ball Z
Interesting.
will always be number one.
Okay.
Yu Yu Hakusho is really high up there. Absolutely adore both of those shows. Naruto's okay, and I do enjoy it, but it's no Dragon Ball. I don't care what
Yeah,
anyone says.
and don't get me wrong, I don't want to take away from that style. I love that style, by the way, Hunter x Hunter, and Yu Hakusho. Like, so I don't like discard that style or anything like that.
And we're talking about
Like,
when we say okay, so that's another thing too. People need to understand is Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter. He's talking about the original
yeah,
animation styles for them because
yeah,
the one that people see most times on Netflix and Hulu and stuff or whatnot is from 2011.
yeah.
We're talking about the early like
We're
I
talking
think
about
it's like
original.
80s 90s
Yeah,
one. It looks exactly like Yu Yu Hakusho because it's made
by
by
same.
Yoshiro Togashi.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the one we're talking about.
yeah.
And it's vastly different too, like the hairstyle from Hisoka, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, and you got to understand, like, for those who aren't familiar with this, there's an evolution that definitely occurs within these within these styles, and some of them are just like almost like so realistic that you're just kind of like, oh my god, you got blindsided. That's like if you weren't double checking, that literally was that's a film, like that's a movie. But then when you see it for like that 3 seconds, you're like, oh, it's an anime, okay, to like, you know, the more fun, more bright colors,
Yeah.
more exciting.
Getting
Um,
away from more natural tones, heading more into the.
what so speaking of like tones and stuff, though, what would you say is your is current state of anime right now, and just in general, for this?
So my the as far as the current state is, I feel like everything's very derivative.
Mm.
Like, so we were just actually talking about this moments ago before we actually had started recording. So there's a lot of these out right now, isekai anime, and while I have no problem with isekai anime, they're very again derivative of each other. So like, there's that time I got reincarnated as a slime, and there's
Yeah,
that time I got reincarnated as a sword,
sword. Yeah,
and I'm sure there's going to be a toaster, a fridge, and a bunch of other stuff.
yeah,
But they're becoming very similar. They try to stay different, but they're very similar, and it's kind of annoying. Because at least back in the day, I mean, yeah, while Yu Yu Hakusho and Dragon Ball are fairly similar, but you had, they were different premises almost entirely.
yeah,
Like, yeah, they fought or whatever, but different powers, you know, animation styles, everything. These literally use the exact same animation styles, pretty much the same voice actors.
yeah.
It's unfortunate because like I do absolutely adore like that time I got reincarnated as a slime. I don't care for the current state and what it's in. I would like it to progress and or even like go back and kind of into this like art style because as where it's at now I feel like it's very cheap and they don't care as much as they used to.
Well, it's very hard when there's literally almost as many like the we have here in America, that term of like, there's like a McDonald's on every corner of every street. It's like that in Tokyo. It's like anime studios and manga studios. It's oversaturated. It's like their biggest import basically. It's just overwashed. Definitely, I would argue, it's personally flooded. So, actually, and I guess for me to if you were asking me that question. Yeah, the at least the style animation again goes up and down. Let's go through its kind of real great phenomenal to what the hell were they thinking. But I think like right now, I think it's in an okay spot. Like, because now, regardless of what is said, 'cause I don't care what is said about it, but there's actually money into it now. Even though I know that manga studios complain that there isn't, and anime studio there really is.
A lot more than there used to be, that's for sure.
Well, it is because of like now Disney gets more involved. These bigger companies are getting more involved. Like, so it's out there. But definitely, I don't not miss the good old days. You know.
Oh yeah, where it was like hard to find any of this stuff.
Well, it's not even that, but like usually it was good. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
It was very hard, but it was like whatever you saw was kind of like almost like a diamond in the rough. It was like a treasure. It was like, what is this? Like we came from like VHS era, like where it was like, you know, I always say like it was like, no, we were given literally just VHS that was recorded on the long version, the LP version.
Yeah.
And there would be like, you'd be like, oh, here's the, you know, here it is. You know, and it's like, what's on it? Well, it's several shows, and it never made sense because you only saw an episode of one show, saw another episode of another. You know, it was always this.
And it'd be like random.
Yeah.
Like at the end of one, and then the beginning of one, and the middle of one.
Yeah, and it was a different show, so it would always be a different kind of thing. But, yeah, so this whole state of affairs, like, going back to, like, Trigun, I personally don't like it. I haven't seen episode 2 yet, so I wanted to see what the change was. And what happened was, like, I just don't understand, like, why they took the mystery out of everything. This its first episode, they just kind of like, oh,
explain everything.
They just like, oh, here's what's actually going on. That was so revolutionary when you found out what was going on. You were like, what? Like, and you didn't even know about knives or anything till like almost damn near halfway through the show. Same thing with like, you know, Cowboy Bebop. You didn't know any of this stuff till about halfway through, you know, and.
So to kind of speak on what you're talking about, I definitely understand where you're coming from because like they do again, you know, back to that time I got recorded. The very first episode is literally explaining every single thing that happens to get him where he's at. He doesn't just wake up, he's a slime.
Yeah.
It's every detail. How he dies as a human, becomes the slime, everything.
Yeah.
Which is not even a big spoiler again because it happens at the first episode in the first like 5 seconds.
It's an itchy. You just assume. What is it? ReZero?
ReZero.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Oops. The main character died in Earth, and
and then he's just
boop, boom. You know.
Yeah. So it's like. It's a lot of it has to do with like people's attention spans and stuff. So I think that's why they do it now. Because like back in the day, you didn't have to wait to get
Yeah,
or you had to wait. You had no choice but to wait to get, to the dessert. You had to eat your vegetables first. Now you just go straight, skip it.
Like this, and you gotta understand. Like also, I felt like it was more geared. That they were more geared for adults.
Yes, very much.
Now that's kind of almost gone away. Like this movie is Generos is rated R for very good reasons. It's got extremely violent scenes. This Exafone film is PG-13. I think Razafon.
Does Razafon even have a rating?
Yeah. Well, it's international, but like Razafon, I think was
probably TVMA or something if it's got anything kind of nudity in it.
No, it didn't, but I think it was it had a harder rating. Maybe this one didn't. Okay, that was a bad example, but like used to be like we had like real serious stuff, and then we would have like, of course, going to the yes, we just have piles of stuff, but like going to like this was used to be what we all saw, like was Techimuo. Like this was like literally like started it all. Like for a lot of people, and this style, which is known as a harem style,
Yeah.
is all that we used to have.
I used to
like,
love that one.
and what's this actually rated?
Oh, I think those are all TV, like MA and stuff, because they have lewd scenes and stuff.
They do. Oh, it's PG.
Oh, that one's PG?
Yeah, maybe
That
because it
actually
was maybe
surprises
because it
me.
was so old. Like it was. Yeah. Okay, it was PG, but
Yeah, back in the day, weird things were rated PG, though.
yeah, it was. They were a lot more
Lax, that's for
lax.
sure. But,
And, like I think what Goblin Slayer was something that was rated MA. There's like some real rough scenes
somewhere.
within the first 2 minutes and 34 seconds
Yeah.
and 5 frames. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, wow.
Was not ready for that.
Was not ready for that.
I tried watching that because I heard good things, and I couldn't.
It actually is a good show. Just you got to get past the first few minutes.
Yeah, literally, if you just skip the first 5 minutes, you're fine.
Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on it anime becoming now mainstream as it is?
So, this I've been thinking about ever since we had actually talked about it,
Yeah.
making this part of our show.
Yeah.
I love it and I hate it. I love it because it makes it so much easier for me to acquire
Yeah.
things. Like, dude, back in the day, you were not going to find
Yeah.
Lego Charizard or these statues that easy, or the Rock the like Dragon collection and stuff like that. You just had to get them on VHS and hope that they weren't, or you had to be very careful and sparing.
Yeah.
Now you can acquire them much easier. However, now that it is the way it is, there's a lot more scalpers, there's a lot more fakes. And when I say fakes, like, you can buy Nenroids that are made out of, like, basically garbage plastic. You go to move their arms and they'll snap right off. eBay is a good proprietor of that. However, they're not the only ones that do it. You can catch them on Amazon. You can catch them anywhere. Websites that fake it. So it's definitely a give and a take, and ebb and a flow. It just really, I love it more in the fact that I can get my hands on stuff much easier. Because when we were children, getting our hands on anything was
impossible.
It was literally,
If you like this, if basically like this stuff, you were basically a creep, like a weirdo.
Yeah, you were weird.
Like, you were weird.
I got made fun of for the longest time for liking, like, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Dragon Ball, and it's essentially bullied.
I was basically, I was not really bullied, but I was essentially in a group, pretty big group in my school that was basically formed of this, and so I was lucky in that sense. But we didn't have e-girls, we didn't have the ooh woo, we wasn't
the Haguo face.
It wasn't any of that. Like it wasn't
cool to like this stuff.
It wasn't like that. It was like, oh, you like that stuff, and you're into like tentacle porn.
Yeah, you're the weird kid. You were the quiet kid in class.
I'm like, well, that is an anime, but that has nothing to do with.
That's not me.
That wasn't me. I mean, maybe there was a VHS that accidentally got picked up that had that. Maybe accidentally, yes. But no. That and if you were, this is where for me, this is really where the crux. I don't really. I mean, I get that it sucks for collectors and stuff, especially with all the shenanigans that's going on. But I think that's honestly the biggest crutch for me. It's just literally I kind of really loathe it. Just that whole cottage industry that's come out of it, like that whole Genshin Impact, and everybody's doing the colonel looking girl with the big hat, and doing the dance, ooh, do, TikTok and all that, and it's like, and everybody's like, oh, like, I love this stuff, and you're just like, like literally my eyes just roll back my head, like
I can't even roll them hard enough, honestly.
I mean, to me, it's just it is what it is. It's just, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think anime is definitely here to stay. I think it's deserving.
It's phenomenal.
It comes with the good and the bad, and I think
more good than bad, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, and I think
gotta take them both.
Yeah, and that's really, I would argue, my biggest crutch of the whole situation. But I'm glad it's out there. I'm glad it could go anywhere, get a shirt.
Dude,
Like instead of just
literally,
going to Hot Topic. Like,
because like getting lucky and going to Target,
yeah,
which was cool. I mean, good on you, Target. Target's always been a good supporter of this in general.
yeah,
But like going to Target and being able to randomly find a Dragon Ball figure. KB Toys, however, was amazing
yeah.
for that. They had everything, like even so Outlaw Star figures, Dragon Ball figures.
Oh yeah, you'd be paying for it too.
Oh yeah,
It was not cheap.
no, it was not.
No.
But
What so right now, what are you watching right now? As far as anime?
so again, this kind of actually falls back into what we were initially talking about. So with the clones that keep coming out,
Yeah.
there have been some good ones. So like, I mean, I guess it's not technically a clone, but again, so many isekai and like those slice of life anime, which it's like I haven't watched a single slice of life anime. I've tried. The only one I've
Yeah.
liked has been My Neighbor Kotaro, which is weird that I even like it because it's
Yeah.
not in the same wheelhouse as the anime I would normally watch.
Yeah.
Which it's on Netflix. It's decent. It's pretty funny. It's kind of strange, but in a good way. But anyways, so I actually just started watching that. I'm almost done with it. But I cannot say how much I love this enough. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. I just restarted watching that. And it's phenomenal. And like I said, it's kind of like a clone ish of, well, any isekai. I guess they're all clones.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's phenomenal. It's probably like a top tier anime. I mean, animation, voices, everything.
Yeah. Speaking of isekai, I'm watching one right now. Which also is it's called I'm Reincarnated. And then it was like the wording's a little different, but basically I'm reincarnated as a sword. But the wording's really weird. So when you've like read the actual title, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's kind of a weird thing. But just started watching that. It's again isekai. It's the same kind of concept. It's a nice approach. I would have liked the show to have been more like, and this is something that, again, going back to something we had a complaint about, where like not until like sometime afterwards do you find out what's happening. Like, like, and it would have been great. Like, it would have been a great part story if like this person who, of course, dies, wakes up with a sword. We don't see any of that. It's like they just find this old sword in like a chest that was like inherited or something, and like, what's this? And it's a living sword, you know what I mean? And it still have all the cuteness and stuff. And then as you're going through, you're learning about the previous owner, how that sword got sort of in that person's hands originally. Then who that sword really is. Oh, it was this guy that was shot or whatever. You know what I
Because
mean?
they never really talk about it. Like,
That would have been a real like great thing. Like, oh, you know what I mean? Because that character was already so developed, and you as the character in the world of the isekai is sort of learning it instead of just, they always do it in the perspective of the person from Earth that gets killed or whatever. It's always killed, so and then they wake up. It would be interesting if they did it from the perspective of of the other one. There's another good one I was watching called it's called holy smokes, wow, it's called, hold up, I gotta look it up. Hold up. Wow, I cannot believe. Well, I'm going to talk about Made in Abyss while I'm looking up this other one. But Made in Abyss is phenomenal. It's basically like Funko Pop characters,
yeah, kind of.
but like with crazy shit that happens to them. And it's a little bit like a show that it really pulls on the heartstrings, just like another show which I refuse to watch. Because of the second season, To Your Eternity.
Oh yeah,
I
don't
refuse to watch.
That one made me sad.
That was so depressing. Well, this show, Made in Abyss, kind of does that, but it's not as
See, I haven't watched
I
all
don't
of
know.
that
Maybe
yet.
because they look like pop characters, Funko Pops. Maybe that's why I'm just like
It's not as bad. No,
it's
because the
it's
ones in
it's
that are
it's pretty
like
disturbing though.
they humanize them a lot in To Your Eternity, and
I'm sorry. I'm
yeah, I'm
trying to
not.
look.
I wasn't a fan. I mean, I was a fan of it. It was the animation was good. The story was pretty good. Just so sad. Like especially when they killed the little kid. I was like, I can't. Nope, I'm good. I would like to continue it, even though they are getting a season two. I will probably not be continuing the story for that. I mean,
Oh, this is it. The Executioner and Her Way of Life.
oh, I've watched that.
Yeah,
I couldn't get into it. I tried.
I just started watching that. And it was not bad. It's okay. It's different. I actually appreciated again that angle where
She kills the
the
isekai.
isekai at the
Yeah.
beginning, yeah, and you're just like, what? So I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah, I was really confused when I watched it.
And then, I've been watching Psychopaths. I watched it before, so it's not like the first time. I'm rewatching Psychopaths. That's a phenomenal show. I don't know if you ever seen that one.
No, sir, I have not.
It's on Crunchyroll. I think you would like it.
I was gonna say, I think that's why we do so well on this, especially as far as like our topics go, because our likes align, but they also differ greatly.
Yeah.
So it really helps.
It takes more of a serious. It's a more serious art style.
Mm.
But it's still got some goofiness to it a little bit. But it's a more very serious series. So, but that's currently what I think I'm watching right now. I watch a lot of anime all at once. That's the problem. So, and then I'll feed through one of them, and then whatever one I kind of get to the finish line, I'm like, okay, I complete it, and then I go back and we'll rewatch what I kind
I'm
of
the exact opposite. I will binge watch
just want.
anything. I'll finish it, and then I'll be depressed because I finished it. And then I'll find something else. I'll finish that, and then
Yeah, I actually been I've been watching one called Gonzo, but
I've never even heard of that one.
yeah, it was during a really weird time in in animation, but it's got crazy dubbing,
Oh God!
like people say craziest things in it.
Is
But
it like Ghost Stories crazy or?
it's weird because I'm not sure. It's one of those things where you're like okay, like
Were they just allowed to say whatever they want?
yeah, like, and it's bizarre, but it's like essentially the show revolves around this guy who basically dies, but at the moment of death, he gets teleported to a room, but still on Earth. It's not like an isekai per se, slightly maybe, but and he's in a room full of people with a orb. It's just this weird like orb from like Heavy Metal. If anybody saw that '80s movie Heavy Metal, it's like the weird orb, and it like gives them like weapons and a uniform, and they go and they fight these creature things, and yeah, it's like, oh, okay, like, but the dubbing's really weird. It's very graphic sexually, very hard, very harsh language. You know, it's one of those you're watching like, because I'm not watching on the most reputable real site,
Oh.
so I'm not sure if it was like I'm not sure if it's like a fake dub, like somebody uploaded, but it kind of makes the story kind of make sense. So I'm not really that horribly like whatever. I could be watching a totally jacked up version of it.
Oh yeah, back in the day, that was another problem too.
Yeah, and oh yeah, so he mentioned Ghost Story. So for those who don't know, Ghost Story was an anime that nobody wanted to dub, like nobody wanted. So they basically just the original studio just gave the rights to whoever, and a like Canadian company took that and essentially literally just rifted an entire.
I mean, we can't on here go into what they say.
They can't.
Because it's ridiculous.
Because we would get we would be hated by a lot of people. But if you're ever interested, it is actually on Crunchyroll. It's called Ghost Stories.
It's weird.
Within a few minutes, you'll find out what we're talking about. You'll be like, wait, did they just say that?
Go watch it.
Yeah, just go watch it. It's an experience.
Yes, it's something.
But yeah. So that's currently what I'm watching, and also, if you guys, anybody here has Netflix and does not mind watching a subtitle, there's an anime called Monster, which just came on. It's an older one. It's a phenomenal one. But if it's sub, you just got to really pay attention to it because it's a straight hard thriller. And it's like 40 episodes, but it's like a superb story. But I just want to point that out. That just come on Netflix. I was surprised. Unfortunately, there's no dub version, so I can't really watch it. I've watched it before, so I know what happens. But it's one of those, man, like there's so much fine details that you got to hear it versus read it, or you might miss something, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense.
But yeah, so I think that covered everything.
Yeah. I mean, this was like the realest we've got on the show.
This
I mean,
is us.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you'll catch like glimpses of this, but
Yeah.
generally we try to like keep it down and give you guys as much information as possible, while making it or trying to make it entertaining.
What you guys don't normally see is like because we're reading off of our tablets. It's like we literally have them around anywhere from 50 to 70 pages of like just notes.
Yeah.
And we try to be as like right on the information for you guys as possible. So that's why we come off a little bit stiff, because we're like, it's not so much just, it's just kind of like I want to make sure I'm reading these correctly instead of like,
yeah, like we look up the names, pronunciations, everything to make sure we're trying our best to give you the best
accurate information.
So, yeah, I think this is.
But yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
So I'm Claudian.
Please don't hate us.
This is like I think this was good. I thought about doing something where you got to get to know us, and I'm glad Nick agreed to it. So
no, this was fun.
Yeah. So let us know if you like us and you think you may want to hear more from us.
Continue on this journey with us.
Yeah, well, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep doing this regardless.
Yeah.
But
we'd like to keep you around.
But we like to keep you around. We just want you guys to know who we are, like, in our kind of our interests and stuff. So, but all right. So that kind of concludes this episode. Again, I'm Claudian, and this is Nick the Great. And leave a comment, share, like. We're also on Instagram, and check us out. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.